question is, when does chapter 2 come out? Is 2 weeks okay, Thomas? Hopefully not more than 2 months.
4 months works too. Alright, well, it's been a long wait, but at last, the day is upon us. Humanity Chapter 2, the themes of which can be described in many ways. Whereas the first chapter was full of optimism and energy and really took special delight in mashing together a lot of styles of music. Celtic rock, bombastic orchestral, insane EDM orchestral folk. This chapter is doubling down on some really poignant ideas. Childhood, innocence, youth, legacy, the things we care about most. And if I had to make a prediction, I'd say it's gonna sound a little something like 7. Maybe a bit of Deliverance, a bit of Return to Sender. We even have a track titled The Stars Are Coming Home, which sounds a lot like The Stars Are You and Me. See? Moreover, we have this trilogy of tracks, Crystallize, Materialize, and Vaporize, which to me sounds a lot like birth through death. I think I'm onto something. Oh. Okay, so Thomas says it's nothing like 7. Even if this doesn't sound anything like 7, I think it's a pretty safe bet that it's gonna hit a few similar emotional notes. I'm expecting something much more kind of straightforward, orchestral. It's probably not gonna be as much pop and EDM in this particular chapter. Although knowing Thomas, it's still not gonna be that straightforward. Whew, okay. So let's begin. And it took Thomas how long to get around to using Russian? Oh. Felt like a slightly more substantial choir piece than Eleutheria. Very nice. This is giving me slight Deliverance vibes. Very simple melody. I am expecting the brass to explode any moment now. Big drums works too. I wonder if this melody is going to come back in Materialize or Vaporize. Okay, now I'm expecting the brass to come in. Piano works too. 3, 2, 1. Whoa. There's some brass. Okay, time for a monster. We Are Legends. Very fairy tale sounding. Not to be confused with... Lush. Feels like we're on the verge of adventure. Okay, that was unexpected. It's got a symphonic metal sound. Now this could be like Impossible, where we shift through a lot of different styles, but I hope we keep up with the guitar drum setup here. This melody just has Thomas written all over it. Ooh. Doesn't even sound like Thomas here. I almost forgot that it started out with that magical fairy tale sound. Classical flourishes. Now you just need to fuse this with the metal. I just love that this is contained in the same track. This is going somewhere interesting. Ooh. Ooh! That's what I was hoping for. Wow. Okay, this is nothing like 7. I know it's going to build back up again, and I don't know how Thomas can top what he's already done, but I also know that he can. So let's wait and see. I think this just about rivals 1 Million Voices for variety and instrumental eclecticism. That's a good melody. Nice and folksy. Okay, English vocals. Okay, Thomas, you were right. Nothing like 7. A lot of new lyrics for me to memorize. Man, this album just sounds massive. It's got a sense of scale and kind of an edginess to it. Yeah, this is not the small-scale, almost purely orchestral, poignant thing I was expecting, but whatever it is interesting. Chipmunk vocals. Okay, well, I basically have no idea what to expect for the rest of this album at this point. Now, this one is supposed to be about some pretty heavy subject matter, a little more personal than usual, and Thomas is supposed to sing in it. Will that be in English? That's in English. This is weird. Huh. The guy's so modest he doesn't even credit himself. Yeah, some of these are gonna take a lot of listening to get used to. That's Running with Keepers. Oh, it sounds different. Oh, I love this one. Love that melody. So, an early version of this track appeared in the Colin Frake Book 2 ebook. I always thought it was way too good to just toss it away on there. I'm glad Thomas agreed. Okay, this is a little more of the poignant, tender stuff that I was expecting at the outset. Let's see if it stays that way and doesn't turn into rock or electronica. Why do I get the feeling it's about to go big? With one or two exceptions, every one of these tracks feels almost unclassifiable genre-wise, which I know is Thomas's intention. Really interesting vocals in this one. Innocence! It's a celebration of innocence. Joyous. Pure joy. It's fun. Well, so far, this is not any more straightforward than Chapter 1 was. This is, on a track-by-track basis, perhaps more experimental. An old-timey filter, that's different. I'm just waiting for this one to get weird. What did I just say? What? It's a telling of a fairy tale. Feels like those fairy tales are long ago now. That's really pretty. I think that one's gonna get more emotional the more times I listen to it. I hope I haven't forgotten the melody from Crystallize. I have a feeling it's gonna be back. Is this what it's gonna sound like when all of my life's ambitions come together? I have a feeling there's a lot of references to the other tracks in this one that I'm just not picking up on yet. But that's your imagination. Wow. Okay, and now Vaporize, which sounds a bit ominous. Sounds like death. Is it about losing your spark? There's Crystallize. There's some heartbreakers on here. Wow, okay. So as unexpected as most of Chapter 1 was, I think this one might just have it beat, or at least the level of wildness from some of those tracks is evenly spread through this album. Like, frankly, that was kind of weird, but that's a good thing. That's something that I like to hear in Thomas's music, and just to hear something that's just like, can't believe he did that. I've always been a fan of that, and I've been thinking since Chapter 1 came out that chapter was going to stand out as the most experimental and varied collection of music Thomas had ever released. And maybe there still is slightly more variety on that one, but I think Humanity Chapter 2 is pretty dang experimental. Most of these tracks, if you wanted to try to give them a genre classification, would be really tough to do. It felt a little more consistent, and I feel like it had more of a sound to it than Chapter 1. I feel like this album would kind of work even for someone who's not a fan of orchestral music. There are some electronic / rock elements in it, and the vocals, I think, that certainly transcend the main audience of most of Thomas's works to date. Surprised and thrown off even more than with Chapter 1, oddly enough. I have to hand it to you, Thomas, that truly sounded absolutely nothing like 7. Even though I think it sort of tackled some of those themes, but in really different and really creative ways. I have a feeling that We Are Legends is going to be kind of a fan favorite from this chapter. I think Fairy Tale is a real highlight. I didn't quite know what to make of it on my first listening until about the climax, but somewhere in there it hit me. This is really a powerful emotional one. And I think it's a little bit buried in there because this is mostly a pretty loud and hard-hitting. It's a hard-hitting album. The way it moves from the simple, childlike first few minutes into this aching string orchestral part and then dies down again, it really feels to me like the whole thing is in retrospect. It's remembering those times, and then there's this rush of feelings, and then, it's childhood is over. So that's what I took away from it. This is provocative and really interesting in how it bends the rules and breaks the rules. How fortunate we are. So Thomas says that chapter 3 is going to be about love, and this time I'm gonna make a slightly more realistic request. Can this one be out in 3 months? I mean, that'll be February, which is Valentine's Day. Love, Humanity Chapter 3, maybe?